Everyone. Hi, everyone. I'm Lynette, and I am the founder of Big Time Happiness. And we are on a mission to increase joy for individuals, our neighborhoods, and our world. And I am so excited to be here with you today with a very special episode. This episode was actually taped in April of 2020, and it is with a very savvy businesswoman by the name of Julie Murphy. And Julie Murphy, I'm going to tell you her title, a money healer. That's right, a money healer. She is an incredible person who's a financial planner. She's the president of a financial firm in the city of Chicago. So I'm going to tell you more about her in a minute. But I just wanted to say that this information is relevant even more now, because right now people are so concerned about money and the cost of inflation, the possibility of a recession, and a lot of things are going on right now financially for people. So I am grateful that Julie was the first guest ever to really share an expertise to help us increase joy. So I'm going to go ahead and read to you now Julie's bio, and that will be great, right? So here we go. Julie is known as a money healer, a financial therapist, and successful businesswoman, serving as a certified financial planner and president of JMC Wealth Management in Chicago. She has a mission. Her mission is to financially heal the world. That is so needed now. Julie has had many media appearances, including Oprah and Friends, CNBC, the Chicago Tribune, the Wall Street Journal, and many others. She can also be found on her own YouTube channel and social. She's also an author, and she wrote the book, The Emotion Behind Money, Awaken Your Wealth, Creating an Impact to Optimize Your Money and Your Life. And her most recent work is The Four Spiritual Laws of Money, Your Journey to Real Wealth. So, with that, I wanted to mention that talking with Julie a few years ago was great. I'm excited to show you this video that's coming up. And we're going to have a follow up with Julie coming up in the early part of the next year, 2024. So, look forward to that. In the meantime, you know what to do. You're going to like, subscribe, follow, and comment. In your comment, include what you learned the most out of this video. And also, if you have a recommendation of another guest we should feature on the Big Time Happiness Show. Look forward to having you with us as we move forward. And here it is, the interview with Julie Murphy. Hi there, and welcome to Big Time Happiness. I am so excited because Julie Murphy is here today. And Julie Murphy is on a very special mission to really help us all achieve what we really want in the world of finances. So I'm so excited about that. Yes. Hi, Julie.
Yes. Hi, how are you?
Oh, great seeing you today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. And so I wanted to first read a little bit about what Julie's been up to. She has a couple of really great books out there. She's been a media expert and lots of really great things. But first, I want you to know that she is definitely all heart. You could tell because she just said hello, right? And yes, and she. Yes, and she's definitely giving hope to millions of people to create a new life. She's an independent, certified financial planner with professional designations of CLU, CHFC, and CFP.
Otherwise known as alphabet soup.
Alphabet soup, that's right. I know myself will need to go. I'll need to go look those up when we're done here. All I know is I think you have achieved quite a lot of experience and expertise in what you do for people. Okay, well, congratulations. And she is an author of 2 books, as I mentioned. She's also a media expert, and she wants you to heal your emotions so you can prosper financially and in life. Very excellent
Yes.
choice there, Julie.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yes, and I loved your mission on your website because it said that you're on a mission to financially heal the world and build wealth from the inside out.
Yes.
It's fabulous. Her recent book is a multiple category Amazon bestseller, and it was #1 when it debuted. And it is called Awaken Your Wealth. She explains her easy to understand 4-step packed process that helps clear out unwanted money habits and chart a course toward a positive future. Her first book was The Emotion Behind Money. She has appeared on CNBC TV, Lifetime TV, Oprah and Friends, and she has her own YouTube channel, Emotion Behind Money. She's on Instagram, Awaken with Julie. She's on LinkedIn, and her Facebook page is Awaken with Julie. So I want to make sure I got all that out there so people know how to find you when we're moving on and they can connect with you as we go forward, you know?
Thank you so much. I'm grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I thought we would start a little bit about talking about your upbringing and your ideas about money and how you got motivated to really pursue your mission in life. So if you wanted to share that with us, that would be great.
Sure. Well, yeah, certainly. I grew up with 11 brothers and sisters. I always say there's Mary and Julie, Donnie, Brian, Matt, Colleen, Danny, Mark, Timmy, Peter, Johnny, and Katie. That's all 12 of us. And we were all born in 16 years. And one of the gifts that I always say, I just sent a text message to all my siblings when this current state of the affairs that we're in came up. And I'm like, my childhood has completely prepared us for these kind of times that we're in because, we didn't have a lot growing up, but we never ever hit rock bottom because we always had each other to lean on. And so you always had somebody who had your back. And, I had my first job when I was 6 years old and I was delivering the penny saver. It was an annual event in our house that mom was cranking out another child. And, and it just kept layering and layering and layering and layering. And, I found myself, after a few years of delivering the penny saver, I found that, wow, like if I made money, then I have choices and I could get some things and make some choices for myself. And even at a young age, and then started delivering them the Tribune and the Sun Times before school, 7 days a week. That was before, well, actually back when there were actually newspapers that got delivered.
Yes, I remember newspapers. I remember going to the newspaper box down the block from my mom.
Totally. Yeah. And, and it was back then when I was, we couldn't afford to have the newspaper delivered, but I was actually reading somebody else's newspaper before I delivered them. So I'd wake up in the morning and I was rolling the papers. I actually was drawn to read the finance section. So I would be reading the finance section when I was like 8, 9, 10 years old. And I have no idea why. I just was fascinated by it. And I think that's the beauty that so many of us need to get back to is what fascinated us when we were kids. And then how do we live with that passion and purpose and how you're naturally wired. So many of us are going after things that we're not naturally wired for because we're trying to build our lives from the outside in as opposed to the inside out. And I'm super grateful for my childhood and my parents that, and I have to give a shout out too to my aunts and uncles because my parents didn't do it by themselves. And my grandparents, like it literally took a village to raise 12 children. And I just had then work experience after work experience that, I bought my own car 3 weeks before I turned 16. And it was because I was a waitress at Pizza Hut in Baker Square. And I made enough money to be able to do that. And I created my life. And I didn't realize back then just from life circumstances, how much it would influence exactly, what I do for people today. When I was just authentically myself, it actually built a roadmap for other people to follow. And now thousands of people have been able to follow this roadmap that I've created in my book, Awaken Your Wealth, that I've used for clients. I've been doing this now 25 years, and it just gives people a sense of freedom. And at the end of the day, so many people feel like once they build the money, then they'll be happy. You know what? I know the people who have the money, and I call them rich but empty because they're still not happy. And so you have to create happiness at every juncture along the way. And that's building your life from your heart, and then add your smarts, which is what one of my mentors taught me, years ago, that you really have to follow what makes your heart tick. And if you don't, at some juncture, you're going to call a crisis into your life that's going to force a shift of some sort.
So thank you for sharing that. And how have you seen that philosophy take place in your own life? Like, where were you before? And then how did you bridge that to develop this belief, and how is it manifested in your own life?
Well, I'm a little Irish and I'm a little stubborn. I think that's first of it. Meaning the fact that, I remember when I was coming out of college, I had a girlfriend of mine, real good friend of mine, Debbie King. We went to high school together and college, and she came back from these interviews on campus. I went to the University of Illinois down in Champaign-Urbana, and Debbie said, "Oh my God, I was on this interview. It is not me, but it is you. Like, this job has your name written all over it." And I was like, okay, because at that point I knew I wanted to go into something that had some sales oriented to it, because clearly I'm an extrovert. And I realized that was a gift that I had. And so then I went to the interview, and it was actually an interview with John Hancock. And they had this program where they would train you to be an independent certified financial planner. And at 22 years old, as you built your clients, they were your clients. They weren't owned by John Hancock. They were owned by you. And so I saw that as a huge opportunity that I could start to write my own ticket. And I was like, I didn't like to beat to somebody else's drum. I wanted to beat to my own. I wanted to create my own life. And so that's really what started it. And I definitely did not start going out of the gates very good. One of my mentors to this day, his name is Bob Lyman. He actually came in as my boss 8 months later after I started, and tried to talk me into going to work at a bank for a fixed salary, because he told me that I just sucked at what it was that I did. And I was like, well, wait a minute. I'm like, you told me you know how to be successful. Clearly, I haven't figured it out myself with the bosses that I had at the time. But if you know how to do it, I'll follow your lead. Just teach me. And you know what? To this day, I'm so grateful, because he did. He told me show up every day at 7:30 in the morning. If you're 1 minute late one day, there's the door. And I showed up every day at 7:30, and I was on time. And he showed me how to hit the pavement and do that. And I will tell you that along the way, I had people who were telling me that, you shouldn't do this. The guy that I was dating at the time said to me, well, yeah, but you have to pay for your own expenses. So even though you made 70 grand, you have to pay 50 grand. So you're only netting 20. I go, yeah, but I'm building an annuity stream that at some point I'm going to catapult past you. And if I would see him today, I'd be like, dude, I think I catapulted past you. All along the way, I was actually just following, and I laugh and I call it that I was stubborn. But really, I always say I was letting my freak flag fly. Back in 2003, after I had been in business now for 8 years, I decided to move my office to a space in the West Loop in Chicago, because I had a boss that told me I had to stop hugging my clients. And I was like, these are people who are sharing their heart and soul with me. And you want me to stop hugging them, like taking the humanity out of finance? And I was like, why would I take that? Why would I even remotely do that? That makes absolutely no sense. That it doesn't make sense to take that out of the equation. And so I decided that I no longer could wear the blue suit, the stiff financial suit that many of you feel when you walk into a bank. Like, it's the mahogany desks, it's sterile, it's like, hi, how are you? And it's very intimidating. Like, we know more than you, so back off. And that was never me. I was an approachable, relatable person. And again, it goes back to I had to let that freak flag fly. And so I bought this office space in the West Loop in Chicago. And I remember one of the first referrals that came to me, she was worth $2 million. And she walked in my office and she snuckered her nose and she like, ugh, what kind of firm is this? Because she measured how good of a financial firm you were by how you looked on the outside, not the quality of what you got. And that is a decision made from ego, not from your heart. And she didn't become a client. But then on the flip side, I wound up with all these other referrals of like, oh my God, I feel so comfortable talking to you. I feel like I've known you for years. And you know what I did? I surveyed my clients. I said, if I'm going to go independent and I'm going to go do these things, guess what? I need to find out what the heck these people want, because if I'm going to build a business and I'm going to jump off the ledge and do this, I needed to know what people wanted. And I never built my business on what the industry told me to do. I did it on what my clients told me to do and what was in alignment with my heart. And I'm grateful for that, because it has grown by leaps and bounds. And today I'm teaching other financial planners to do what I do. And I'm also teaching the general public of how do you really live from a place of what I call real wealth when you're happy in your family life and your work life and your soul's purpose and what you're here to do, and all other aspects of your life. Because at the end of the day, you don't ever have anyone on their deathbed saying, I wish I would have worked more and made more money. That's not the things that people value. And so how do you create value all along the way and happiness all along the way? And that goes for me too. I just had a client recently say, I love the fact that you're doing your Facebook lives now at home, because one day I was sitting in my bedroom and I was like, you know what? You guys need to see my vision board. And I have a vision board wall in my bedroom because I want to wake up and see the life I want to create. And he's like, I'm so glad that you practice what you preach. And I'm like, of course I do. Like, why? I don't know how to not do that, but I know there's a lot of people that do.
Well, I'm really glad that you really have manifested a lot of really great things for yourself, but it's also from your determination. And yes, absolutely. It took so much determination and focus and willing to listen to a mentor and being open-minded and not just listening to, oh, go get a salary job. You really had a clear vision for what you wanted in your life, and you weren't willing to waver from that. And I think that really takes a lot. I don't know, did you find at that time that you were courageous in making those choices, or did you find that that was a natural experience for you?
Well, I definitely think it takes a lot of courage to jump off the ledge and let your freak flag fly, because there's a lot of people, particularly being a woman, there's an awful lot of people out there that are telling you that it's not okay to be exactly who you are. And again, I had a girlfriend of mine who got divorced a few years ago, and what she said to me was, she said, well, she had this, after she got divorced, it was like 2 years later, she had a luncheon with all the women that she said touched her heart in her divorce process. And she had traveled a lot in those 2 years, and she took pictures where she traveled, and she put a little word on each of the pictures. And it was the word that described what that other woman gave her in her journey. And when she called me up and she had me stand up there, she goes, what I got from Julie during my divorce process to stand up to my narcissistic, borderline personality disorder husband at the time, who really just went after her. Like, she was stripped down to the bone of every core she had. He went after her. And and the word was courage. She gave me this picture and it said courage. And I had actually never really thought about it before that's what I find the courage to do the things that I want to do. But also I give people the courage to step into it. I've always said for a long time, there's a lot of people that come to me for permission to actually live the life that they really want to live, because no one else is really supporting them. They're all telling them, we can't do this, you can't do that, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yes, you can. Why can't you? Like, why are we putting these constraints on ourselves? You can do everything and anything you desire. And yes, it takes courage, and it also takes practical action. But the process I walk people through, it helps you build that muscle along the way so that you feel comfortable to do the things that you want to do in your life.
Fantastic. And I think that it's so beautiful how you and many ladies made a difference for your friend, and how she really saw you as being courageous, because a lot of people, would view that action, as courageous, so I think that speaks, yes, it speaks volumes as to who you are, in the lives of others. And also, I really appreciated how you shared your philosophy about how you like to operate in your office and how it's a non-traditional approach. And I think that's so important to engage people who otherwise feel intimidated by other financial firms that are a little bit more conservative. So it's nice that you created something that's more engaging, more relaxed, where people can put down their barriers. So that's a lot of kudos to you for, going with your own vision. So I'm grateful for your vision board. And it's your vision board.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been fun through the years. Absolutely.
Great, congratulations. Now, getting into your book here, and packed as, did you call it a blueprint? Is that what you called it?
Yeah, it's like your roadmap or your blueprint. Yeah, I've used both.
Okay, great. And so it looks like the P is for picturing yourself.
Yeah, that's the whole vision board part, right? So what I started to realize is that we will just create the same patterns over and over again unless you find a compelling reason to change. And the only compelling reason I have ever witnessed anyone changing is their dreams. Like, you have to dream a new dream, or else you're going to be stuck in the reality that you're in. Because what we do as human beings is we create these suffering cycles and we stay in them. And even if you change the friends and you change the spouse, you tend to repeat the patterns unless you focus on a different dream. You attract the same person with a different name, and or same circumstances, but a different point in time. And so you have to focus on the new dream. And that picturing part is, everything is energy and everything is a vibration, right? And so Einstein proved that we're all energy. And so the energy of what it is that you think, what you speak, and what you feel is exactly what's going to come right back at you, because we live in a hologram. So think of life as a mirror. And so it's so important for us to shift and change what we're putting out there so that something different can come back to us. It's kind of like, let's put it from like a financial perspective. If you're there and you're always like saying, okay, I'm going to take every extra dime and I'm going to pay off debt and I'm going to pay off debt and I'm going to pay off debt and pay off debt, guess what you're going to create?
Paying off debt.
And you're going to create more debt, so you keep paying off debt. Mm-hmm. So we have to interrupt those cycles, right? Dream the new dream. How do we do that? And this is part of the process that I walk people through of how do you interrupt those cycles that we stay stuck in. And your dreams are expansive. They're exciting. They make you giggle. I always tell people, I'm like, well, I don't know. Does it make you giggle? It sure as hell doesn't make me giggle to do that. But you seem to be geeking out about it a lot. And then they just get this like grin on their face. And I'm going, see, that's like, I call it a shit ass grin. Sorry. But like, look at that grin on your face. And then they start laughing more. And I'm like, this is where we need to go with this, because this is exciting stuff. And people are like, I can't do that. They're always saying, I can't do that. I'm like, zip, 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 zip. Again, vibration. Watch the words that you put out there. Yes, you can. You just don't see the how yet. And that's where the magic of the process happens, because again, you have to build the muscle one at a time. And so it's so important to stay in that brainstorming, picturing of what you really want to create. Even though you don't know how to get there yet, take the how and put it to the side. I want you to stay in the picturing piece first and foremost, because the next step in the process will get to your reality. Because if you think about, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do that, you start talking, and you're up here, and then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, now let's talk about your reality. And you go, Like it just grounds you, right? Like you're up here in the ethers and then you get grounded. And so what's so important is that we focus on the ethers, but yet you have to accept exactly the life that you've created, because if you don't accept it on some level, you will keep recreating it. And so there's an acceptance level. So I always talk about like in my divorce, I always constantly am talking about the fact that I never went into my marriage thinking that I would ever be divorced. I was dead serious that it was death do us part. And I had to accept the reality that my marriage didn't work. And it took me a bit to accept that reality. But you know what? The minute I did, and the minute I focused on the dream is that I want me to thrive post-divorce. I want my kids to thrive post-divorce. And I want my ex-husband to thrive post-divorce. And the minute I said that is the intention, all of a sudden, but I couldn't even get there until I accepted the reality that it didn't last. I got the short end of the stick on that one. Am I going to sit there and spend the rest of my life sitting around thinking about that? No, let's focus on the next dream. Like, let's be the best divorced family ever. I don't know how the hell we get there, but let's do it. Why not?
Yes, amen to that. There's a lot of people who get stuck in the muck, of life situations, and to hear how you've really, transitioned that for yourself is paramount in how you've created, I think, more freedom and happiness for yourself, for your family, and for your former husband. So I really give you a lot of kudos for that.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. But the accepting of the reality, and it happens to all of us, every single one of us. But it's really truly about the fact, hold a safe space. It's okay. It's okay that things didn't work. It's okay that it got all mucky. It's okay. The last time I checked, not one human being is perfect.
I agree, and I think that when we hold things up to an ideal state, then it really leads to, I think, people feeling less than about themselves.
Totally.
And I think that it's so important to realize the humanness of us. And I'm really,
Absolutely.
yeah. And I'm really glad too that this is, really kind of going into accepting your reality and awakening your authenticity, which is the next part of your pact. So maybe you could talk a little bit more about not just accepting the reality, but what is it to awaken your authenticity?
So when you accept the reality, what you do is you free up your energy. And you kind of go, you know what? I know this is where my soul would like to be, and this is what I've created, and there's a little gap here. So the way to start to bridge that gap is by just really awakening your authenticity. And that goes back to, it's time to let your freak flag fly, ladies and gentlemen, because that's where the giggle is. That's where you geek out about whatever life stage you're in. I don't care if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. I had somebody in their 70s once go back to law school because they always regretted not going, and then practiced law until they were 85 years old. And I swear it added years to his life, because inside, even though he became the provider of his family and had a job all those years, it wasn't the job that made him geek out. Being a lawyer, I would not geek out about being a lawyer by any means, but this dude loved it. And he geeked out about it because he was finally willing to admit to himself that, I don't know why, but it kind of makes me laugh. And I kept saying to him, I'm going, did you take the LSAT? Did you go apply to law school? He walks in one day and puts on my desk his acceptance to law school. And that was one of the best days of my life. It was so fun to watch because he was willing. Why do we have to wait till our 70s to finally step into our power and allow our freak flags to fly? We don't have to wait. We don't have to wait for the crisis. We don't have to wait for some bomb to drop on us. We can choose that today. And you know what? What's going on in the world today with the pandemic and all that stuff, the pandemic won't be the last one, but we're giving these unique, beautiful opportunities where it's like taking a meteor to your life and going, I'm going to blow up your life right now. And the only option it should be is, how do I be more authentic? how do I let my freak flag fly? Because I've not been living from that place of authenticity. So now how do I shift? And then it goes back up to what's the dream, right? And once you start to figure that out, we all know what makes us tick. It's all about the stuff that we used to love when we were kids. You know, me reading the finance section on the Tribune and the Sun Times before I'd roll the papers up and deliver them to my neighbors. You know, like I don't know why I geeked out about that, but I did. You know, I was a kind of a nerd like that, but that's okay. I'm a beautiful nerd, so it's okay.
You are a very beautiful nerd. Absolutely. Very powerful nerd. And I love it that, you were so passionate about, doing the newspapers, because that's what really set the course for your life. How you got involved with reading the financial section at such a young age, which is very, not common. I think, right. And so I think that's fantastic. That's
me, and that's okay, right? And everybody has a unique gift that they are supposed to give to the world. And the question is what is yours, and when are you going to start to get busy doing that? Because here's what I know for sure. After 25 years of being a financial planner, the money always comes when you align your work, what you do in the world, with your heart, whatever that is. I have people who are thinking of retirement. They never knew what retirement meant for them. And I've been pressing them on this recently. And this one couple, this lesbian couple, they finally decided, they were like, you keep asking us when we've geeked out the most. And we finally found our answer. And I go, well, what's the answer? And she said to me, when we created all of this non-for-profit activity for about 1,000 children in the Chicagoland area, and we were at our happiest when we did that. And I said, okay, so now you know what makes you geek out. We don't necessarily know of how that's going to expand as you retire, but just start staying open, and that set the intention that that's what you want to do in your retirement. And I guarantee you it's going to be one of the most successful things that you ever do, because look at the look on the two of your faces right now. And they were super happy. And they were geeking out. They were like hitting each other and be like, do you remember when that kid did that? And like they had the realization that the work that they did, they helped more children, two women, lesbian couple, who they helped more children in Chicago than Blue Cross Blue Shield did that year. So a major company financially supported less people than this couple in a suburb of Chicago. And it's because they geeked out about it, because they love it. It's their passion, it's their purpose, and that's what they wanted to do.
That is pretty incredible, because I think that it's also fantastic that you were encouraging them. They had a champion in their corner. They had a cheerleader. They had a mentor. They had somebody putting wind to their sails, because a lot of people unfortunately don't have that. It's themselves with their own idea. They don't share it with other people because they're afraid to speak something that makes them happy and joyful. Like your point where the guy, was an attorney and he never pursued law school until later in life, and he finally did it and he was so happy and he lived to 85. But there's so many people who don't speak what they're most passionate about. And that leads us to your next point in the pact, and that is choosing to change. So clearly there's a lot of things that are formulating in a person. So what do you say, how does a person get to that point where choosing to change is actually where they're taking action?
Well, so it's about, where are you starting to leak your energy over to? And that could be in as easy as the thoughts that you're having, the words that you're speaking, the feelings that you're having, choosing to, like, if you've got, my first book, I talk about the crabs in the bucket. Like if you put 10 crabs in a bucket, no one crab can climb out because the other crabs keep pulling them down. But if you put one crab in a bucket, it can crawl out by itself, no problem. And so some of the choosing to change is going, what are the crabs in your life that you need to not be talking to anymore? Like it could just be like, I am choosing to have a minimal, like, I'm going to give an example. And I love my mother like nobody's business. But when I was writing my first book, my mother said to me, you're writing a book you were my worst English student. My mom was an English teacher. She goes, you were hell on wheels when I was trying to teach you how to write papers growing up. So I learned right then and there that if I was going to be successful, and my mom, she's right, I was terrible. Like, I go, Mom, I have a graduate degree now from Notre Dame. I think I know how to write. I figured it out. And she goes, I know you figured it out, but you were a big pain in the butt. And so every time she would ask me about like, well, how's this chapter? She goes, well, you're making some mistakes. At first she was wanting to, I just decided my mom was a crab in my bucket because she couldn't get through her head that this kid was going to be writing a book. And she just, it was almost like her protection energy was starting to go in there. Like, I don't want you to be disappointed, honey. Like, it's okay. You don't have to prove it to the world that you're a writer now. And so I had decided, I was like, after it went through all the editors, all everything, then I gave my mom the copy to proofread. And she only found 2 mistakes, because she was a crab in my bucket at the time because I wanted to be successful at it. So I needed to stop talking to the crabs who were not supporting me in my endeavor because I knew I was supposed to put it out there in the world. And you know what? And that's the book that got me put on Oprah Radio. And it was the book that got me put on CNBC. I was on a show called On the Money. It was awesome. And so it's like, I've come a long way, Ma, but she was my crab in the bucket. So these little things are indications that you are choosing to actually start to walk across the bridge from where it is that you're at in your reality to the dreams. And that's the choice, and go ahead.
Sure. And just what do you say to people who are disempowered and then they listen to the naysayers? Like, how do you get them over that hump of like low self-esteem or, because it really is a lack of belief in yourself when you don't go for your vision and you don't go for what you really want. So what do you have to say to people who are in that situation who can't, they don't have the opportunity or the ability to say, no, I'm not going to listen to that. Like, what do you say to them so they can move forward with what's important to them?
Yeah, and this is exactly why on my website, juliemurphy.com, we have these toolbox for tools for people because what I have found in my research, there is a scientist out there, his name is Bruce Lipton, and he has proven, he's a biologist, and he has proven that 97% of our response to the external world comes from our subconscious mind, not our conscious mind. So everybody has good intentions that they want to do that, but like you said, like they can't get over the hump. They can't get past it. And that is because you think about it, think of your brain as you have 2 operating systems. One's the conscious mind, which is 3% of how our mind works, and 97% is the other operating system. That's your subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind is fully developed by the time we're 7 years old. And so the reason we can't get through these humps is because we have to rewire our subconscious mind. And there's many different modalities that allow that to happen. And like I said, we have a lot of those tools and resources on juliemurphy.com. But to give you an example, hypnotherapy is one way. There are brainwave pattern experts that meditation that you can listen to that cost you $10. Listen to them every night as you're going to sleep. Those are some of the tools and the resources. You could learn to meditate yourself. I think that's more difficult for some people, especially, through the years, I found that if I can just put something on my ears right as I'm going to sleep every night, even though I have 4 kids and running a company and writing a couple books, even on my hardest day, I can make that happen because you got to rewire that subconscious mind. And that you just have to be diligent about it. And you know what? Know the fact that you're going to fall off the horse. We all fall off the horse. Who cares? It's just the key is get back on because again, your compelling reason to change is your dreams. And that's why I have like my vision boards up on the wall in my bedroom. I tell people put the Post-it notes on their fridge, in the car, of whatever it is that you want to create so that it becomes top of mind. So when you fall off the horse, you go, nope, I really want that instead. So I'm going to get back up on the horse. But you really need to address your subconscious mind. And there's also practitioners that work with people on an energy perspective that can help you through it if you want one-on-one help, or there's the individual stuff you can do on your own, and there's everything in between. But you really do have to address the subconscious mind. And that's why we repeat the patterns over and over again, is because of that operating system of our subconscious mind.
Well, I'm really glad that you're bringing that up and mentioning your toolbox, which I think is incredibly perfect resource for people to help get them through some things so that they can move forward. Which brings us to the T, which is take action.
Yeah.
So, yes. So what are some good things that you have to share with people about taking action as part of PACT?
Yeah, so taking action is, if you've ever worked with anyone in finance, taking action is really the only thing that most financial planners do. It's like, okay, we'll start implementing the X, Y, and Z. And, taking action, I will encourage everybody that it is not just about the financial products. The financial products are really just the result of the actual action pieces that you need to take in your life. So you need to take a look at from, your, not only your financial life, but personal, family, career, all those components. So like when I give a client an action plan, anyone who attends any of my group sessions or my individual one-on-one stuff, I'll give you an action plan that have to do with not only financial things, but things in your personal life and things in your, whether it's your relationships with your spouse or friends, or, if you want to travel, or if you want to spend more time with family, or do you not have the family relationship that you want to have and you want to rectify some of that? And certainly I am not the expert in all those different arenas, which is why, in my newsletter every week, I highlight another person who helps people in these other areas of their life to take action, because it's just so important for, there's certain areas of your life that are jamming you up more than others, and they change over time. So I've had some people that are totally fine financially, but they can't get the extra 50 pounds of weight off their body for nothing. And you know what? I keep telling people, I'm not going to bury you with all your money. Like, where is your vibrancy, health, and wealth? And what in your life is creating all that padding that you're protecting yourself from? Like, something is not in alignment with your heart and soul. And I know that because that is a big reason. Like, I was not living as authentic as I could have been. And all those years, I used my weight to protect me from that. And it's interesting, as I come more into my authenticity and doing more of what it is that I want to do, guess what? The weight literally is just melting off. And I'm not doing anything different from an exercise and a food perspective. What I'm doing is I'm aligning with myself. And so these action pieces need to be what supports you, and understand that this is all very dynamic in nature. It is not static, because you have to keep going through the PACT process, because you begin to elevate yourself and you're walking across that bridge. And something that you may not have thought of before is a dream of yours that is because usually we start to dream small, and then as you have wins, then you're going, well, now I can do this, and now I can do that. And the dreams get bigger and bigger. And they don't necessarily mean that that you're like, what may be big to you may not be big to somebody else. Like, I have these two twins that are clients. They are funny as all get out. When they retired, they wanted to retire early, and the one got divorced and the other one, the spouse, died. So they inherited their dad's house when he passed away. So they moved into their childhood home together because they didn't want to live by themselves anymore. And they always wanted to work at a bakery together. So they work at the Jewel Bakery together, and they are having the time of their life. So I am telling you, because there are those ladies in the neighborhood that everybody wants to go talk to at the bakery because they know everybody, and they love chit-chatting with everyone. And it's like, again, that is bringing joy and happiness to them, but they're not living on $10,000 a month, because that's not what's important to them. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a ton of money to be actually living in a state of what I call real wealth.
I'm so appreciating this conversation, and really about taking those actions, and now people have really gone for, really what aligns with their values, and also providing, some really good content and information for everybody who's watching and listening. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And I wanted to get into the whole Awaken series that you're creating. And before we do that, I just wanted to find out if there's anything else around money and a person's well-being and their happiness that you wanted to share with people.
that I don't care what situation that you're in, it can always, always shift. There is there is nothing that I have not helped people shift through, that it all has to do with you aligning with your heart. And I know for a fact, no matter what kind of pile of poop you've created, you can get to the other side, because I've done it. I've helped people do it, and I know it's possible. You just have to decide that that's what you want out of your life. And that will create all the happiness and desires that you have.
I'm so glad that you said that, because it is so true. And sometimes people cannot see that for themselves. And I'm
Yeah.
so glad that yeah. And I'm so glad you reminded them of that. So tell us about your Awaken series.
Yeah. So going kind of back to the fact that I'm not the expert at everything, even though sometimes I'd like to think that I am. I'm definitely not. But what I would like to share is that, so we're currently going through a health crisis around the globe right now. And so I started the Awakening series with Awaken Your Health. And we do that. I do a Facebook Live with health experts on Monday night at 8 p.m. Central. And we're going to be expanding this series to like awaken your relationships, awaken your marriage, awaken your children, awaken your health, awaken your wealth. And we're going to be rotating around the different aspects of our lives to add value with these other experts in these arenas, so that you can start to wake up and start to build your life from the inside out. And so that you're really getting a sense of wholeness for yourself. And, I just want to be that resource for people that can really help you find that inner happiness and that inner calm and that huge quality of life that we're all starving for these days. Because I know it can be had.
Well, I'm so glad that you're bringing this to people, because it's such important topics.
Yeah.
And yes, and thank you for joining us today as well. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us here at Big Time Happiness. Please check below or above or wherever the section is.
I know, I get it. Just click.
Just find it. It's somewhere there. It's Julie's.
Totally, absolutely. Great stuff.
It's Julie's information. So you can check out more about Julie. Plus, I just want to know how you're liking, what we're doing here for you. So click the like, follow, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. You know what to do, because we really are creating a great community here for Big Time Happiness, and bringing you a lot of really important information that you can use on a daily basis, and that others could use on a daily basis, to really increase your joy, your well-being, your harmony, everything about your life moving forward in a very positive way. So thank you again, Julie.
You're very welcome, and thank you for having me. I'm super grateful.
We're grateful too. This is Lynette Hanover, sending lots of love and happiness to all. Bye for now.
Bye.
So here we go, folks. You're going to check out Julie's website at juliemurphy.com, and you'll also catch up with her on social at Awaken with Julie. And then also, for those on looking for the Big Time Happiness info, go to bigtimehappiness.com to sign up for the newsletter, and also our social buttons: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and the podcast. TikTok's coming in 2024. This is Lynette Hanover, wishing you a life full of love and happiness.